At the gala, my husband laughed when his mother denied me food. The maid doesn't eat? He forgot I had secretly bought his company. The CEO took the stage to introduce the new owner. But my husband froze when he pointed at me and said, "Actually, that's not quite how it happened. Let me start from the beginning." The ballroom glittered like something out of a magazine. Crystal chandeliers hung from the vaulted ceiling, casting warm light over tables draped in ivory silk. Women in designer gowns moved through the crowd with champagne flutes, their jewelry catching the light. Men in tailored tuxedos laughed too loudly, their voices bouncing off the marble floors. I stood near the buffet table, my stomach tight with hunger. I'd spent 3 hours getting ready in the small guest bathroom. Marcus had forbidden me from using the master suite while his mother was visiting. The dress I wore was 4 years old, navy blue and plain, but it was clean and pressed. I'd hoped it would be enough. "Excuse me." A server approached with a tray of hors d'oeuvres. Phyllo-wrapped shrimp, I thought, or maybe scallops. "Would you care for—" "She's fine." Patricia's voice cut through the air like a knife. My mother-in-law appeared beside me, her hand wrapping around my wrist. Her grip was tight enough to bruise. "The help doesn't eat with the guests." The server's eyes widened. He looked at me, then at Patricia, clearly confused. "I'm sorry?" he said. "You heard me." Patricia released my wrist and waved him away. "This woman is not a guest. She's staff. The maid specifically. She shouldn't even be near the food." Heat flooded my face. Around us, conversations died. Heads turned. I saw Marcus across the room, talking to a group of investors. He'd heard. Of course he'd heard, Patricia's voice carried. He met my eyes for just a moment. I waited for him to say something, to correct his mother, to acknowledge that I was his wife of 7 years, not the hired help. Instead, he laughed. It started as a chuckle, low in his chest. Then it grew louder. He crossed the ballroom floor with long strides, his face bright with amusement. When he reached us, he draped an arm around Patricia's shoulders. "Oh, Mother," he said, his voice booming, "you can't say things like that, even if they're true." More laughter rippled through the crowd. I stood frozen, my hands clasped in front of me. The server had already moved away. Patricia preened under Marcus's arm, her thin lips curling into a smile. "Well, dear," she said, "someone has to maintain standards. I won't have her embarrassing you in front of your colleagues." "You're absolutely right." Marcus turned to me. His eyes were cold despite his smile. "Sweetheart, why don't you go wait in the car? This is really an event for important people." Something inside me cracked. Not broke. Cracked. Like ice on a pond, still holding but marked with fractures. I thought about the papers in my safe deposit box. The LLC documents, the stock certificates, the wire transfer confirmations showing exactly how I'd spent every penny of my father's inheritance to save Marcus's failing company 6 months ago. I smiled. I couldn't help it. "Actually," I said, reaching toward a passing server, "I think I'll—" My fingers had barely brushed the microphone clipped to his vest when Marcus's hand clamped around my wrist. He yanked me back, hard enough that I stumbled in my heels. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" His voice was low, meant only for me, but several people nearby had definitely heard. "I just wanted to—" "Shut up." He released me with a small shove. Then he straightened his jacket, smoothed his hair, and took the microphone from the server himself. The young man looked terrified. Marcus tapped the microphone twice. The feedback screeched through the speakers. All conversation stopped. Every person in that ballroom turned to look at us. My heart hammered against my ribs. "Sorry, everyone," Marcus said, his voice amplified and cheerful. "Just need a moment of your time. I know we're all here to celebrate the company's incredible turnaround, thanks to our mysterious benefactor, whoever you are." Polite laughter. Patricia beamed. "But I wanted to share some personal news." Marcus's arm snaked around my waist. His fingers dug into my hip. "My wife is a little confused tonight. Too much champagne, I think. But since we're all friends here, I might as well announce it now. Ice flooded my veins. As you all know, the company is being saved by an incredible investor, someone who believed in us when no one else would. And now that we're financially stable, now that I don't have to worry about money anymore, I can finally make a change I should have made years ago. He released my waist and stepped away from me. The distance felt enormous. I'm divorcing this useless woman to be with someone who's actually at my level, someone worthy of the success I've built. The ballroom erupted. Not with shock, with gossip. Whispers hissed through the crowd like wind through grass. I saw phones come out, cameras pointed at me. A woman near the front actually had her hand over her mouth, but her eyes were gleeful. Patricia clapped her hands together. "Finally," she said loudly. "I've been telling him for months." Marcus handed the microphone back to the server and adjusted his cufflinks. He looked at me with something like pity. "You can leave now," he said quietly. "I'll have my lawyer send the papers to wherever you end up. Don't expect much. You didn't contribute anything to our life together." I stood there in my old navy dress, surrounded by 300 people who just watched my husband publicly humiliate and discard me. And I smiled. "Okay," I said softly. Marcus frowned, clearly expecting tears or pleading. Patricia looked disappointed. "That's it?" he said. "No dramatics? What would be the point?" I picked up my small clutch from a nearby table. "You've made your decision. Smart girl." He turned away, already scanning the room for more important people to talk to. "Security will make sure you get out safely. Don't make a scene." I walked toward the exit with my head high. The crowd parted for me. I heard the whispers following me like a wake. "Poor thing. Did you see her face? I heard she's been living off him for years. He could do so much better." At the door, I paused and looked back. Marcus had found his group of investors again. Patricia was holding court with her friends, probably telling them how she'd always known I wasn't good enough. The CEO of the company, David Chen, a good man I'd worked with closely over the past 6 months, caught my eye from across the room. He raised his champagne glass slightly. "A question." I nodded once. His smile was small and sharp. I stepped out into the cool night air. My driver was waiting. Not the driver Marcus knew about, but the one from the private car service I'd hired with my own money. My real money. "Home, Mrs. Thorne?" he asked. "Not yet, James. Take me to the office. I need to pick something up from the safe." "Of course, ma'am." As we pulled away from the glittering building, I caught my reflection in the car window. My lipstick was still perfect. My eyes were dry. In 7 days, there would be another gala, another announcement, and the CEO would finally reveal the identity of the mysterious investor who'd saved the company with a $4.2 million cash infusion. And Marcus would learn exactly who owned 65% of his beloved company. But tonight, I had work to do. I had a week to prepare. A week to watch him celebrate his freedom, his success, his brilliant future. A week to enjoy the last moments of his ignorance. I pulled out my phone and sent a text to David. "Proceed with Plan B. Move the announcement to this Friday. I want the amante there." His response came immediately. "Understood. She's already on the guest list." I leaned back against the leather seat and closed my eyes. My wrist still ached where Marcus had grabbed me. My hip would probably bruise from his fingers. I thought about my father, gone 2 years now. He'd built his fortune from nothing. Always told me that money wasn't about luxury. It was about options, about power, about never having to endure disrespect from anyone. "I'm sorry, Dad," I whispered to the darkness. I should have listened sooner. The car hummed through the city streets. Somewhere behind us, Marcus was probably already introducing people to his new woman. The appropriate partner his mother had picked out. Let him have this week. Let him think he'd won. Friday would come soon enough. The house was lit up when we arrived. Every window glowed warm and welcoming, like something from a holiday card. It would have been beautiful if it were still mine. James pulled the car into the circular driveway. "Would you like me to wait, Mrs. Thorne?" "No, thank you." I'm not sure how long this will take. I gathered my clutch and the folder of documents I'd retrieved from the office safe. I'll call if I need you. Very good, ma'am. I walked up the stone pathway to the front door of the house I'd lived in for 7 years. The house Marcus had told everyone he'd bought with his business acumen. The house that was actually purchased with a down payment from my savings account, back when I'd still believed we were building a life together. The door was unlocked. Of course it was. Marcus never remembered to lock it. I stepped inside and stopped. The entry hall smelled different. Expensive perfume. Something floral and heavy. Not Patricia's usual scent. The coat rack held a cream-colored cashmere wrap I'd never seen before. A pair of designer heels sat by the door, red-soled and pristine. Laughter drifted from the kitchen. I set my clutch on the entry table and walked toward the sound. My own heels clicked against the hardwood. The laughter stopped. Patricia appeared in the kitchen doorway, a wine glass in her hand. Her face was flushed with excitement and alcohol. "Oh," she said flatly, "you're back. I live here." I kept my voice even. "Not for much longer." She stepped aside, revealing the kitchen behind her. A woman sat at my kitchen table. She couldn't have been more than 25, with the kind of beauty that came from expensive maintenance. Perfect highlights, professional makeup, a figure that spoke of personal trainers and nutritionists. She wore a silk dress that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. She smiled at me. "You must be the wife. Not the soon-to-be ex-wife. Not even Marcus's wife. Just the wife. Like I was a role, not a person. And you must be the mistress," I said. Her smile didn't falter. "Tiffany, though I prefer to think of myself as the upgrade." Patricia laughed. "Oh, I like her. She's got spirit." I looked around the kitchen. The table was set with my good china, the set my mother had given me before she died. There were 3 wine glasses, 3 place settings. They'd been having dinner, in my house, at my table. "Where's Marcus?" I asked. "Out celebrating with the boys." Tiffany crossed her legs, completely comfortable. "He said he'd be home late, didn't want to deal with any hysterics from you." "I see." I moved to the coffee maker and started brewing a cup. My hands were steady. "And you're staying here?" "In the guest room," Patricia said. She refilled her wine glass from a bottle on the counter, a $200 Bordeaux from the wine cellar Marcus thought I didn't know about. "Since you'll be leaving next week anyway, we thought Tiffany should start learning how to manage the household." I poured coffee into my favorite mug. "Manage the household. Someone has to." Patricia waved her glass airily. "Marcus is a very successful man. He needs a woman who knows how to run a proper home, host proper parties, maintain proper appearances." "And I don't?" I added cream to my coffee, watching it swirl. "Oh, honey." Tiffany's voice dripped with false sympathy. "You tried, but you were always more domestic help than lady of the house. No shame in it. Some people are just built for service." I took a sip of coffee. It was too hot, burning my tongue, but I didn't react. "Well," I said, "I suppose you'll need to learn the routines. The house is quite complex." Patricia blinked. "What?" "If Tiffany's taking over, she should know how things work. The security system, the staff schedules, the delivery services." I looked at Tiffany. "Unless you already know how to manage a household this size?" Tiffany's smile tightened just slightly. "I'm sure I'll figure it out." "Of course." I set down my coffee cup. "Why don't we start now? I can show you the systems before I leave." I saw the confusion flicker across Patricia's face. She'd expected tears, anger, desperation, not cooperation. "That's very gracious of you," she said suspiciously. "It's practical." I shrugged. Marcus has made his decision. Fighting it would be pathetic. Better to make the transition smooth. Tiffany stood, smoothing her dress. "All right, show me." I spent the next hour walking Tiffany through the house. I showed her how to adjust the smart thermostat, how to access the security cameras, how to set the alarm system. I explained the landscaping schedule, the pool maintenance, the cleaning service that came every Tuesday and Friday. And then I brought her to the front door, where deliveries arrived. This is important, I said, pulling out my phone. We get a lot of deliveries. Groceries, wine, packages. You'll need to sign for them. I can sign for a package, Tiffany said, rolling her eyes. Of course, but there's a system. I opened an app on my phone. See? Each delivery gets logged. You sign here on the tablet the delivery person provides. It tracks everything. What was delivered, who accepted it, the time. Seems excessive, Tiffany muttered. Marcus likes records. I smiled. Especially for expensive items. Wine, art, anything valuable. He wants to make sure nothing goes missing. That caught her attention. Her eyes sharpened. Expensive items? Oh yes. Sometimes the wine deliveries alone are thousands of dollars. I pulled up a past delivery record on my phone, showing her a shipment of vintage wines. See? This one was $8,000, all logged and signed for. I can handle that, Tiffany said. Good. I handed her a stylus. Practice signing on my phone, just so you get used to the interface. She took the stylus and scrawled her signature across the screen. Tiffany Ashford, in looping, self-important letters. Perfect. I saved the signature sample and slipped my phone back into my pocket. You're a quick learner, I said. I told you, I'm an upgrade. We returned to the kitchen where Patricia had opened a second bottle of wine. She looked at me with narrow eyes. You're taking this very well, she said. What choice do I have? I picked up my coffee cup and rinsed it in the sink. Marcus has all the power, the money, the company, this house. I have nothing. Exactly. Patricia's voice was sharp with satisfaction. So, you understand that fighting him would be pointless. Completely pointless, I agreed. My phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. A text from an unknown number. Package delivery tomorrow, 2 p.m. Confirm receipt protocol. I typed back, confirmed, sample signature obtained. Who's texting you at this hour? Patricia demanded. The grocery service, confirming tomorrow's delivery. I showed her the screen. I'd already deleted the real message and pulled up an old grocery receipt. I figured I should order food before I leave. Don't want Tiffany to start with an empty fridge? Tiffany laughed. See, Patricia? She knows her place. I smiled. I do now. My phone rang. David Chen's name appeared on the screen. I let it ring once, twice. Excuse me, I said. I should take this. Who is it? Patricia's eyes were suspicious. The butcher. I answered the call and walked into the hallway. Hello? Yes. This is Mrs. Thorne. Yes. I'm confirming for Friday. The full order. Everything we discussed. David's voice came through warm and amused. I assume you can't talk freely? That's correct. The usual cuts. Prime, not choice. Are they there right now? Yes, exactly. And I'll need the special preparation we discussed. The liquidation documents are ready. Legal has the board resolution prepared. I've confirmed with accounting the credit card charges from this afternoon have been flagged. He used the corporate American Express. Perfect. And the timing? Friday evening. The venue is booked. She's on the guest list as his +1. Wonderful. That should be everything. You're sure about this? Once we file the police report about the card fraud, there's no walking it back. I watched Tiffany through the doorway, lounging at my kitchen table, in my chair, drinking my wine. I'm sure. Friday at 6? 6 sharp. The car will pick you up at 5:30. Thank you so much. See you Friday. I ended the call and returned to the kitchen. Patricia was refilling Tiffany's glass. They both looked up when I entered. Everything all right with the butcher? Patricia asked. Perfect. They're preparing a special order for Friday. A real slaughter. I smiled. Marcus loves their work. He won't be eating your cooking much longer, Tiffany said. She sipped her wine. I'm actually a trained chef. Le cordon bleu. How wonderful. Then you won't need my recipes. Definitely not. I glanced at the clock. Nearly midnight. I should let you two get to sleep. Tiffany, the guest room is upstairs. Second door on the right. The sheets are fresh. I know where it is, she said. Marcus showed me earlier. Of course he had. I climbed the stairs to the master bedroom. My bedroom, though, apparently not for much longer. The room looked the same as always. King bed with cream linens, the reading chair by the window, my books on the nightstand. But Marcus's things were already gone. His side of the closet stood empty. His toiletries had been cleared from the bathroom. He'd moved out before even telling me he wanted a divorce. I sat on the edge of the bed and pulled out my phone. I scrolled through my photos until I found what I was looking for. A picture from our wedding day. Marcus in his tuxedo, me in my simple white dress. We were laughing at something his uncle had said. He'd looked at me like I was precious that day, like I mattered. I deleted the photo. Then I opened my banking app and checked the account for the LLC I'd created 6 months ago. The account that held what remained of my father's inheritance after I'd sunk $4.2 million into saving Marcus's company. Current balance, $127,000. Enough to start over. Enough to disappear if I wanted to. But I wasn't going to disappear. I pulled up the folder of documents I'd retrieved from the office, safe, and spread them across the bed. Stock certificates, board resolutions, wire transfer receipts, the paper trail of exactly how I'd saved Thorne Industries from bankruptcy. And one more document, drafted just this afternoon, a corporate credit card usage report showing that Marcus Thorne, CEO, had used company funds to purchase a $12,000 Cartier bracelet and a $8,500 Valentino dress for his mistress, using the company credit card, the company I owned. I took a photo of the receipt and sent it to David with a single word: evidence. His response? Board meeting set for Thursday, police report filed for Monday morning. Downstairs, I heard Tiffany's laughter. She was probably going through my things already, deciding what to keep and what to throw away. Let her have her fun. I had 4 more days to watch them celebrate. 4 more days of playing the defeated, pathetic wife. And then Friday would come. I lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling. My wrist still ached from where Marcus had grabbed me. The bruise was blooming purple-black against my pale skin. I'd take a photo of it in the morning, add it to the evidence file. Everything was falling into place. Wednesday morning arrived with rain. I woke to the sound of it drumming against the bedroom windows, steady and relentless. The clock read 6:47 a.m. I'd barely slept. I dressed in jeans and an old sweater, clothes I hadn't worn in years, pushed to the back of my closet, clothes that said giving up. I pulled my hair into a messy ponytail and didn't bother with makeup. When I came downstairs, Tiffany was already in the kitchen, wearing one of my silk robes. She looked up from her coffee and smirked. Rough night? I've had better. I moved to the coffee maker, but the pot was empty. She'd taken the last of it. Oh, sorry. She didn't sound sorry at all. I didn't realize you'd want any. Patricia said you usually skip breakfast. Patricia had never asked me what I usually did. She'd been living here for 3 weeks and had never once inquired about my routines. It's fine, I said. I'll make more. Actually, don't bother. We're going out for breakfast. Patricia knows this amazing place in the city. Tiffany set her mug in the sink. Not the dishwasher, the sink, for me to clean later. You can have the house to yourself. Start packing or whatever. That's kind of you. I know. She started to leave, then paused. Oh, Marcus called earlier. He needs his tuxedo dry cleaned for Friday's gala. The ticket's in his office. Can you handle that? I was not the maid. I was his wife. But I swallowed the words and nodded. Of course. Great. He also needs money for a new shirt. His card got declined yesterday. Can you believe it? Something about suspicious charges. Anyway, there's cash in the house safe, right? My pulse quickened. The safe? Yeah. Marcus mentioned it once. Said you had emergency cash there. She looked at me expectantly. Where is it? In the study. Behind the bookshelf. I kept my voice carefully neutral. But I don't have the combination anymore. Marcus changed it last month. It was a lie. I'd never told Marcus about the safe. He didn't know it existed. Tiffany's face fell. Seriously? You could ask him for the combination. He's in meetings all day. She huffed in frustration. Whatever. I'll figure it out. She swept past me and up the stairs. I heard Patricia's door open, their voices murmuring together. I stood alone in the kitchen and allowed myself a small smile. Then I went to work. Marcus's office was on the first floor, a room he'd claimed as his domain years ago. Dark wood furniture, leather chairs, walls lined with business books he'd never read. His desk was cluttered with papers and trade magazines. I found the dry cleaning ticket exactly where Tiffany said it would be, pinned under his laptop. The tuxedo needed to be ready by Thursday evening. But what caught my attention was the credit card lying next to the laptop. Not his personal Visa, not our joint account MasterCard. The corporate American Express, Black Card, the one issued to him as CEO of Thorn Industries. He'd left it here after it was declined. Probably furious, probably planning to call the credit card company and demand they fix their error. He had no idea the card had been frozen on purpose, that David had flagged it the moment the Cartier and Valentino charges appeared, that the fraud department was already building a file. I picked up the card and turned it over in my hands. Such a small thing. Just a piece of plastic. I set it down on the desk, right in the center where he couldn't miss it. Then I went to my purse and pulled out a different card. One I'd gotten 3 months ago when I'd opened a checking account for the LLC that owned Thorn Industries. The cardholder name read Thorn Holdings, LLC, authorized user. It looked almost identical to the corporate card. Same black color, same weight, same bank logo. I placed it on the desk next to Marcus's laptop, slightly off-center. Casual, like someone had set it down while working and forgotten it. Then I took the frozen corporate card and slipped it into my pocket. Upstairs, I heard Tiffany and Patricia getting ready to leave. I had maybe 10 minutes. I opened Marcus's laptop. He'd never bothered setting a password at home, too confident in his own security. His email was already open. I scrolled through his recent messages. Most were business correspondence, vendor invoices, meeting requests. But one subject line made me pause. Friday Gala, final arrangements. I opened it. Marcus, confirming your reservation for 2 at Friday's Investor Appreciation Gala. Your table is reserved in the front section. Press will be in attendance for the big announcement. Looking forward to seeing you and your guest. Best, David Chen, CEO, Thorn Industries. His guest. Not his wife, his guest. I kept scrolling and found another email, this one from 3 days ago, sent to someone named Richard Kemper at a law firm downtown. Richard, proceeding with divorce as discussed. Wife has no assets, no income, no leverage. Standard settlement should be fine. Minimal alimony, no property division. She'll take whatever we offer. Let's have papers ready by end of month. Want this done quickly and quietly. Best. EMSA Thorn, minimal alimony. No property division. For the house I'd downpaid. For the marriage I'd supported while he built his business. For the company I'd saved with my inheritance. My hands were shaking. I closed the laptop and stepped back. The front door opened and closed. Patricia's voice drifted up from the entry hall. Tiffany, the car's here. Coming. Footsteps on the stairs. I slipped out of Marcus's office and into the hallway, making it look like I'd just come from the kitchen. Tiffany appeared, dressed in designer jeans and a cashmere sweater. Patricia followed, dripping in pearls. We'll be back this afternoon, Patricia said. She didn't look at me. Try not to make a mess. I'll do my best. They left in a cloud of perfume and self-satisfaction. Through the window, I watched them climb into Patricia's Mercedes and drive away. The moment they were gone, I pulled out my phone and called David. They took the bait? He asked. Not yet, but I've set the trap. I walked back to Marcus's office and photographed the LLC card on his desk. I'm leaving the card where he'll find it. If he's desperate enough, he'll use it, David finished. And the moment he does, we'll have him for corporate fraud and embezzlement. What if he doesn't take it? Then we proceed with the existing evidence. But honestly, men like Marcus never think they'll get caught. If he needs money and there's a card sitting right there, he'll use it. I looked at the card on the desk. Such A simple trap. David, what if I stop myself? What if what? What if he checks the cardholder name? Sees it's not his? Does Marcus strike you as the kind of man who reads the fine print? I thought about how he'd signed our mortgage without reading it, how he'd agreed to business contracts based on handshakes, how he assumed the world worked in his favor. No, I said, he doesn't. Then trust the process. Men who think they're untouchable make the sloppiest mistakes. We hung up. I stood in Marcus's office listening to the rain. Then I went upstairs and started packing. Not everything, just enough to make it look real. I filled 2 suitcases with clothes and toiletries. I boxed up my mother's china from the kitchen. I took down the few photos that mattered. My parents' wedding picture, my father's military portrait. I left Marcus's things untouched. Let him think I was cooperating. Let him think I'd accepted defeat. At 2:47 p.m., a delivery truck pulled up outside. I watched from the upstairs window as a man in a brown uniform walked to the front door carrying a large box. The doorbell rang. I went downstairs and opened the door. "Delivery for Thorne residence," the man said. He held out a tablet. "Sign here, please." I took the tablet. The delivery form showed an order for premium wine. 6 bottles of vintage Bordeaux, total value $4,200. "I didn't order this," I said. "Says here it's for Marcus Thorne. Ordered yesterday. Rush delivery." Yesterday. The day after he'd announced our divorce. He'd celebrated by buying expensive wine he couldn't afford, or thought he couldn't afford. "I'll sign for it," I said. I scrawled my signature and helped the delivery man bring the box inside. He tipped his hat and left. I opened the box. 6 bottles, each worth $700. The invoice was inside, printed on thick cardstock. Purchased with the Thorne Holdings corporate card. He'd found the card, and he'd already used it. I photographed everything. The box, the bottles, the invoice, the card number printed at the bottom. Then I sent it all to David with a single message. He took the bait. David's response came immediately. "Forwarding to legal and accounting. This is fraud, clear cut. He's done." I sat on the floor of the entry hall, surrounded by $4,200 worth of wine my husband had purchased with my company's money, and I laughed. It was a quiet sound, barely more than a breath, but it felt like relief. Marcus came home at 8:30 p.m., humming to himself. He stopped when he saw the suitcases in the hallway. "Finally packing?" he said. "Good. I want you out by Sunday." "I'm working on it." He noticed the wine box. His face lit up. "Oh, perfect. That came already?" "This afternoon." He pulled out a bottle and examined the label. "Beautiful. I'm throwing a party next week, after the divorce is finalized. This'll be perfect. I'm sure your guests will love it." He looked at me, really looked, for the first time in weeks. "You know, I expected you to make this harder. Fight me, cry, beg, but you're being reasonable. What would fighting accomplish? You've clearly moved on." "I have." He set the wine bottle on the entry table. "Tiffany's everything you're not. Smart, sophisticated, ambitious. She actually cares about success. She sounds perfect for you." "She is." He started toward the stairs, then paused. "Oh, I need you to handle something tomorrow. My tuxedo needs to be picked up from the dry cleaner, and I need a new dress shirt. White French cuffs, size 16. Can you manage that?" "Of course. Thanks. Use the card on my desk if you need cash. I've got meetings all day tomorrow." He went upstairs without another word. I sat in the hallway until I heard his shower start running. Then I pulled out my phone and texted David. He's instructing me to use the company card now. Direct evidence of authorization. David. "That's perfect. We're documenting everything. See you Friday." I climbed the stairs and went to the guest room. My room now, apparently. The bed was narrow and the sheets were scratchy. Rain continued to fall outside the window. In 36 hours, this would all be over. Marcus would walk into that gala expecting to celebrate his freedom and his success. Instead, he'd learn who really owned his company, who'd really saved it, who held all the power he thought was his. I set my alarm for 6 a.m. I had a tuxedo to pick up and a shirt to buy. with his company's card, and I'd make sure to get a receipt. Friday arrived cold and clear. The rain had finally stopped, leaving the city washed clean and bright. I woke at dawn and lay in the narrow guest bed, watching sunlight creep across the ceiling. Tonight. Everything would happen tonight. I showered and dressed carefully. Not in the old navy dress I'd worn to the first gala. That woman was gone. Instead, I chose a gown I'd purchased 2 days ago with my own money. Midnight blue silk, simple but elegant, with a high neckline and long sleeves. I'd had it tailored to fit perfectly. My hair was styled in a low chignon. Diamond studs, my mother's real ones, sparkled at my ears. Minimal makeup, just enough to look polished. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. I looked like someone who mattered. Downstairs, the house was chaos. Patricia barked orders at the catering staff she'd hired for a pre-gala champagne toast. Tiffany shrieked about her makeup artist running late. Marcus's voice boomed from his office, on the phone with someone about press coverage. No one noticed me slip out the side door. James was waiting in the circular driveway with the town car. Not the beat-up sedan Marcus thought I drove. This was from the executive fleet I'd approved for company use last month. "Mrs. Thorne," James said, opening the door. "You look lovely." "Thank you, James." I slid into the back seat. "Did the other car arrive?" "Yes, ma'am. The limousine is ready. At the secondary location, as you requested." "Perfect." We drove through the city in comfortable silence. I watched the familiar streets pass by. The park where Marcus and I used to walk on Sundays. The cafe where he'd proposed. The hospital where I'd held his hand through his father's final illness. All of it felt like it had happened to someone else. At 5:15, James pulled up to a private garage on the east side. He opened my door and led me to a sleek black limousine waiting inside. David Chen stood beside it, dressed in an immaculate tuxedo. "Mrs. Thorne," he said, smiling, "are you ready?" "I've been ready for days. The press will be there. News cameras, local media. This is going to be very public." "Good." He studied my face for a moment, then nodded. "All right then. Let's go make history." The limousine was pure luxury. Cream leather seats, ambient lighting, a privacy partition. David sat across from me, reviewing notes on his tablet. "The board is already at the venue," he said. "They're all aware of tonight's plan. Everyone's in position." "And Marcus?" "He arrived 20 minutes ago, with Tiffany." David's expression soured. "She's wearing the Valentino dress he bought with the company card. Bold choice." I almost laughed. "She has no idea what's coming." "Neither does he." David set down his tablet. "I have to ask you one more time. Are you absolutely certain about this? Once we make the announcement, there's no going back. He'll know everything. Your ownership, the evidence of fraud, all of it. I'm certain. He'll try to fight you, claim you manipulated him, or that the purchase was invalid somehow. His lawyers will..." "David." I met his eyes. I spent 7 years being invisible in my own marriage. I spent 6 months secretly saving a company while being treated like hired help. I'm not hiding anymore. He smiled. "Good. Because the woman who walked into my office 6 months ago with a plan to save Thorne Industries? She was formidable. You deserve to let the world see that." The limousine pulled up to the Grand Rothmore Hotel, the same venue as the first gala, but this time everything was different. A red carpet stretched from the curb to the entrance. Photographers lined both sides, cameras flashing. A news crew had set up at the bottom of the carpet. Through the tinted windows, I could see Marcus and Tiffany posing for photos. She wore the burgundy Valentino dress like armor, her arm linked through his. He was laughing, confident, completely at ease. He had no idea his wife owned the company he was celebrating. "Ma'am," the driver said, "we're ready when you are." I took a breath, then another. "Let's do this." The driver opened the door and suddenly, I was standing on the red carpet in the cool evening air. Camera flashes erupted like stars. I heard someone shout, "Who is that?" Another voice, "Is that Mrs. Thorne?" I didn't look at them. I looked straight ahead, at the hotel entrance where Marcus and Tiffany were still posing. Marcus saw me. His smile faltered. David appeared at my elbow, offering his arm. "Shall we?" We walked up the red carpet together. More flashes, more voices. "Mrs. Thorne, are you attending the gala? Is it true you're separated from your husband? Are you here to make a statement?" I didn't answer. I just walked, one foot in front of the other, feeling the weight of every eye on me. We reached the entrance. Marcus and Tiffany were still there, frozen in place. "What are you doing here?" Marcus hissed. His face had gone red. "I told you not to come." "Good evening, Marcus," I said calmly. Tiffany looked me up and down, her expression sharp. "You weren't on the guest list." "Actually," David said, "she's at the top of the guest list, as the evening's guest of honor." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about?" "You'll find out soon enough." David nodded to the security guard at the door. A different guard than last time, one I'd personally approved. "We're ready to enter." "Of course, Mr. Chen. Right this way." The guard opened the door. Marcus moved to follow us inside, but the guard's hand came up, blocking his path. "I'm sorry, sir. I need to verify your credentials." I'm Marcus Thorne. I'm the CEO." "Yes, sir. But there's been a security update. I need to check the list." I didn't stay to watch. David and I swept past them into the hotel lobby. Inside, the gala was already underway. The ballroom glittered with the same crystal chandeliers, the same ivory silk tablecloths, the same wealthy crowd drinking champagne and talking too loud. But this time, I wasn't standing by the buffet table being mocked. This time, heads turned as I entered. Conversations paused. I saw recognition flash across faces. Wasn't that the wife? The one who was divorced? What is she doing here? David led me through the crowd to the front of the room where a small stage had been set up. A podium stood in the center, a microphone already in place. "Your table is here," David said, gesturing to a spot directly in front of the stage. "Center seat. Best view in the house. You're not sitting with me? I'll be on stage for the announcement, but I wanted to make sure you had a moment." He squeezed my hand gently. "This is your night. Own it." He walked away, heading toward a group of board members near the bar. I sat down at the table alone, folding my hands in my lap. The chair next to me remained empty, for now. 10 minutes later, Marcus and Tiffany finally made it inside. I could tell from Marcus's face that the security guard had made him wait as long as possible. His jaw was tight, his movements sharp with irritation. He scanned the room and found me immediately. I watched him cross the ballroom floor, Tiffany trailing behind in her stolen Valentino dress. She looked less confident now, her eyes darting around nervously. Marcus stopped at my table. "What the hell are you doing?" he said quietly. "I told you not to come. You're embarrassing yourself." "I was invited," I said. "By who?" "The host." "That's ridiculous. I'm the CEO. I'm the host." "Are you?" His face went darker. "I don't know what game you're playing, but it ends now. Security." The same guard from the door appeared. "Yes, Mr. Thorne? Escort this woman out, and she's not supposed to be here." The guard looked at me, then back at Marcus. "I'm sorry, sir. I can't do that." "What? Why not?" "Because Mrs. Thorne is listed as the primary guest of honor. I have orders directly from the board not to remove her under any circumstances." Marcus's mouth opened and closed. "That's insane. I'm on the board. I would know about this." "Perhaps you should speak to Mr. Chen," the guard suggested. Across the room, David was watching. He raised his champagne glass in a small salute. Marcus turned back to me. "What did you do?" "I didn't do anything." "You're lying. You did something. You—" He stopped, awareness creeping into his eyes. "The investor. The mystery investor who saved the company." "What about them?" "You know who they are. That's why you're here. That's why Chen is protecting you." He leaned down, his voice dropping to a harsh whisper. "Did you sleep with him? Is that it? Did you whore yourself out to the investor to get back at me?" I looked up at him. This man I'd married. This man I'd loved. And I felt nothing. You should take your seat, Marcus. The presentation is about to start. Don't tell me what to... The lights dimmed. A spotlight hit the stage. David Chen walked to the podium and the crowd quieted. Good evening, everyone, David said, his voice carrying through the sound system. Thank you all for coming to Thorn Industries Investor Appreciation Gala. As many of you know, 6 months ago, our company faced an unprecedented crisis. We were on the verge of bankruptcy, layoffs were imminent, and our future looked bleak. Marcus straightened his jacket and started toward the front, assuming he'd be called up to speak. But then something miraculous happened, David continued. An anonymous investor came forward with a substantial cash infusion, $4.2 million to be exact. This person asked for nothing in return. No board seat, no public recognition, no special treatment. They simply wanted to save the company and protect its employees. Applause rippled through the crowd. Marcus smiled and waved, soaking it in. Tonight, David said, we finally have permission to reveal the identity of that investor. Marcus positioned himself near the stage steps, ready to climb up and shake hands with his savior. But first, David said, and his tone changed, I need to address a serious matter that's come to our attention. The room went quiet. Marcus's smile faded. It has been brought to the board's attention that certain corporate funds have been misappropriated. Specifically, the company credit card was used for personal purchases, luxury items, expensive gifts, totaling over $25,000 in the past 3 days alone. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Marcus's face went pale. These purchases were made by our CEO, Marcus Thorne, who used company funds to buy gifts for his personal companion. David's voice was cold now. This is, of course, fraud. Clear-cut embezzlement. The board was informed this morning, and we have already filed a police report. The murmurs turned to gasps. Marcus stumbled back from the stage. No, he said, but his voice was too quiet to carry. That's not... I didn't... Fortunately, David said, the person who discovered this fraud is the same person who saved our company. He turned and looked directly at me. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the majority shareholder of Thorn Industries, the woman who owns 65% of this company and who, as of this moment, holds complete authority over its future. Mrs. Catherine Thorne. The spotlight swung from David to me. Every person in that ballroom turned to stare. I stood up. My legs felt steady. My hands didn't shake. I walked to the stage, climbed the 3 steps, and took my place at the podium. The room was absolutely silent. I looked out at the sea of faces. Board members, investors, employees, reporters, and Marcus standing frozen in the middle of the crowd, his face drained of all color. Tiffany stood next to him, one hand pressed to her mouth, the Valentino dress suddenly looking like evidence instead of a prize. I gripped the edges of the podium and spoke into the microphone. 6 months ago, I said, my father passed away and left me a substantial inheritance. My husband didn't know about it. I'd never told him because I wanted our marriage to be built on love, not money. I saw Marcus flinch. When I learned that his company was failing, I made a choice. I used every penny of my inheritance to save Thorn Industries. I did it anonymously, through an LLC, because I didn't want recognition. I wanted to help the man I loved. I believed that if the financial stress was gone, we could save our marriage too. My voice didn't waver. Instead, I was treated like a servant in my own home, humiliated publicly, told I was worthless. And just last week, my husband announced at a gala very much like this one that he was divorcing me to be with someone at his level. The crowd was riveted. Camera flashes went off like lightning. He had no idea he was insulting the person who owned his company, the person who'd saved his job, the person who'd given him everything. I looked directly at Marcus. And then, this week, he used corporate funds, my funds, to buy luxury gifts for his mistress. The dress she's wearing tonight? Purchased with company money. The bracelet on her wrist? Company money. The wine in his house? Company money. Tiffany's hand flew to the bracelet. She looked at Marcus in horror. So tonight, I said, I'm stepping out of the shadows. I'm taking my place as the majority owner of this company. And I'm exercising my right to restructure our leadership. I pulled a piece of paper from my clutch and read from it. Effective immediately, Marcus Thorne is removed from his position as CEO. His access to all company accounts, properties, and resources is revoked. He is terminated with cause and will receive no severance package. Marcus made a sound, a strangled, desperate noise. Furthermore, the board has voted to pursue criminal charges for embezzlement and fraud. The evidence has been turned over to the police. I folded the paper and looked up. Marcus, you said I was nothing. You said I contributed nothing to our marriage, to your success, to your life. You were wrong. I was everything. I just let you take credit for it. He stood there, shaking, unable to speak. And now, I said, my voice steady and clear, I'm taking it all back. I pulled one more paper from my clutch. Divorce papers, already signed by me and witnessed by 3 attorneys. As you said last week, I'm finally free to be with someone at my level. You're fired, Marcus. And you're served. I handed the papers to David, who descended the stage steps and delivered them directly to Marcus. Marcus took them with trembling hands. He looked at them, then at me, then at Tiffany. This is impossible, he whispered. You don't have the authority. I own 65% of the company, I said into the microphone. I have all the authority I need. Patricia appeared from the crowd, pushing her way toward the stage. This is fraud, she screamed. My son would never. She's lying. She's a liar. Mrs. Thorne Sr., David said calmly. We have documented proof. Bank transfers, board resolutions, purchase receipts. Your son committed fraud, and he's been caught. Security guards were moving through the crowd now, positioning themselves near Marcus and Patricia. You can't do this to me, Marcus said. His voice cracked. I built this company. I made it what it is. No, I said. I did. You just stood in front of it and smiled. The guards reached him. One of them spoke quietly in his ear. Marcus looked at me one last time. Kate, please, we can talk about this. We can figure something out. I made mistakes, but there's nothing to figure out. You're done. The guards escorted him toward the exit. Tiffany tried to follow, but one of the guards stopped her. Ma'am, we need to ask you some questions about the fraudulent purchases. Her face crumpled. She looked at me pleading. I swear I didn't know it was company money. You signed for deliveries, I said. Your signature is on the receipts. That makes you complicit. But he told me. She started to cry, mascara running down her cheeks, ruining the perfect makeup she'd spent hours on. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not pity, just tired relief. I turned away from her and faced the crowd again. To everyone else, I said, thank you for your patience during this difficult transition. Thorne Industries will continue to operate under new leadership. I'll be taking an active role as board chair, and we'll be announcing a new CEO next week. If you have questions, please reach out to Mr. Chen. Thank you. I stepped away from the podium. Applause erupted, uncertain at first, then growing stronger. David met me at the bottom of the stage steps. That was perfect, he said quietly. Is it really over? The hard part is, now comes the paperwork. I looked toward the exit where Marcus and Patricia were being escorted out by security. Through the glass doors, I could see them on the sidewalk, arguing with the guards. Marcus's perfect tuxedo, Patricia's pearls, Tiffany's stolen dress, all of it crumbling. Mrs. Thorne? A reporter approached with a microphone. Can we ask you a few questions? Not tonight, David said smoothly. Mrs. Thorne will be making an official statement next week. He guided me away from the crowd toward a side exit where the limousine was waiting. We stepped out into the cool night air. The door closed behind us, muffling the noise of the gala. Where to? David asked. I thought about the house. My house, technically, though it didn't feel like mine anymore. A hotel, I said. Somewhere quiet. I need to think. I know just the place. The limousine pulled away from the curb. Through the back window, I watched the Grand Rothmore Hotel disappear into the distance. Inside, the gala continued. People would talk about this night for years. But I was already gone. The hotel David chose was boutique and discreet, the kind of place where wealthy people went to disappear for a while. My suite had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a marble bathroom with a soaking tub, and silence. Blessed silence. I stood at the window in my blue gown, watching the city lights shimmer below. My phone had been buzzing nonstop since I left the gala. Text messages, emails, missed calls. I turned off the sound, but I could still see the screen lighting up every few seconds. I didn't look at any of them. Instead, I poured myself a glass of water from the minibar and sat on the edge of the pristine white bed. It was done. Marcus was gone. The company was mine. So why did I feel so empty? A knock at the door startled me. I checked the peephole. It was David, still in his tuxedo, holding a file folder. I opened the door. I thought you were celebrating with the board. I was, for about 10 minutes. Then I realized you were alone, and that didn't seem right. He held up the folder. Also, there are things you need to sign. Of course there are. I stepped aside to let him in. He set the folder on the desk and turned to face me. How are you holding up? I don't know yet. That's fair. He loosened his bow tie. For what it's worth, you were magnificent tonight. I've never seen anything like it. It didn't feel magnificent. It felt necessary. The best moments usually do. He opened the folder and pulled out several documents. These are the official termination papers for Marcus. Once you sign, his removal is legally binding. He can't contest it, can't claim wrongful termination. It's done. I took the pen he offered and signed my name 3 times. Catherine Marie Thorne. The signature looked strange to me, like it belonged to someone else. What happens now? I asked. Now? The lawyers handle the divorce proceedings. The police handle the fraud case. You and the board find a new CEO. Or you take the position yourself if you want it. I don't want it. Then we'll find someone good, someone honest. He paused. There's something else you should know. Marcus tried to get back into the building tonight, after the gala. I looked up sharply. What? Security stopped him at the employee entrance. He was drunk, belligerent, kept saying the building was his, that you'd stolen everything, that he'd built the company with his own hands. David's expression was grim. They had to call the police to remove him. Is he in jail? No, they just escorted him off the property and warned him not to come back. But Kate, he's not going to accept this quietly. You need to be prepared for him to fight back however he can. I thought about Marcus's face at the gala. The moment he'd realized what I'd done. The shock, the betrayal, the rage. Let him fight, I said quietly. He'll lose. Probably, but it won't be pleasant. Nothing about this is pleasant. David gathered the signed papers and slipped them back into the folder. I should let you rest, but call me if you need anything, okay? Doesn't matter what time? Thank you, David, for everything. You saved the company, Kate. I'm just helping you take what's yours. He left, and I was alone again. I changed out of the blue gown and into the hotel robe, then ran a bath. While the tub filled, I finally looked at my phone. 63 text messages. 41 missed calls. Emails still pouring in. Most were from numbers I didn't recognize. Reporters, probably, or gossips from the gala. But some were familiar. There was one from Patricia. You'll regret this. My son will destroy you. One from a number I suspected was Tiffany. Please. I didn't know. Don't let them arrest me. And one from Marcus. Just one. Sent at 11:47 p.m. I opened it. You humiliated me in front of everyone. You took everything from me. I loved you, Kate. How could you do this? I stared at the words until they blurred. He loved me. Past tense. As if he'd ever loved me at all. As if love looked like public humiliation, cruelty, betrayal. I deleted the message and blocked his number. Then I sank into the bath and let the hot water wash away the night. When I finally climbed into bed, it was after 2 a.m. The sheets were soft and cool. The pillows were perfect. The room was quiet, but I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the moment on stage. The look on Marcus's face, the gasps from the crowd, the camera flashes. I'd won. I'd reclaimed everything he'd taken from me. So why did it feel like I'd lost something too? I must have dozed eventually, because when I opened my eyes again, sunlight was streaming through the windows. My phone said 9:23 a.m., and there was a voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. I almost deleted it without listening, but something made me press play. Mrs. Thorne, this is Detective Sarah Mills with the Financial Crimes Unit. I'm calling regarding the fraud case against Marcus Thorne. We'd like to schedule a time for you to come in and give a formal statement. Please call me back at your earliest convenience. Reality settled over me like a weight. This was really happening. Police, lawyers, court proceedings. The end of my marriage wasn't going to be quiet or clean. It was going to be public and ugly and permanent. I called the detective back and scheduled an appointment for Monday morning. Then I ordered room service, coffee and toast I couldn't eat, and tried to figure out what to do next. My phone buzzed. A text from David. Board meeting at 2 p.m. today. Can you make it? I hesitated, then typed back, I'll be there. I showered and dressed in clothes I'd packed in a small overnight bag. Black slacks, a white blouse, nothing fancy. When I looked in the mirror, I saw someone who looked tired but resolute. The board meeting was at Thorne Industries headquarters, in the top-floor conference room I'd only seen once before, when I'd signed the initial purchase documents. The room had floor-to-ceiling windows and a long mahogany table surrounded by leather chairs. 7 board members were already seated when I arrived. They all stood as I entered. Mrs. Thorne, said Gerald Fitzpatrick, the chairman. He was in his 70s, distinguished, with wire-rimmed glasses. Thank you for coming. Of course. He gestured to the seat at the head of the table, the CEO's seat, Marcus's seat. I sat down. The meeting was efficient and businesslike. We discussed the transition plan, the public relations strategy, the search for a new CEO. Everyone was professional, supportive, careful not to mention Marcus's name unless necessary. But I could see the questions in their eyes. How much had I known? How long had I been planning this? What kind of woman humiliates her husband in front of 300 people? I answered their questions about the company's direction. I approved their recommendations. I signed more papers. And when it was done, Gerald walked me to the elevator. May I say something off the record? He asked. Of course. What you did took courage. Saving this company, enduring what you endured, and then standing up for yourself like that. He adjusted his glasses. My wife and I have been married 43 years. If I ever treated her the way Marcus treated you, I'd deserve everything you gave him, and more. Unexpected tears pricked my eyes. Thank you. You're going to do great things with this company. I can feel it. The elevator doors opened. I stepped inside and rode down alone, blinking back tears I didn't fully understand. When I reached the lobby, I saw them. Marcus and Patricia standing by the front desk, arguing with security. I'm telling you, I work here. Marcus's voice was loud, desperate. I'm the CEO. Sir, you're no longer employed by this company. You need to leave. This is insane. Call David Chen. Call the board. They'll tell you. They're the ones who instructed us not to let you in, Mr. Thorne. Patricia saw me first. Her eyes went wide, then narrow with hate. You, she hissed. Marcus turned. When he saw me, his face crumpled. He looked terrible. His clothes were rumpled, his hair uncombed. His eyes were red-rimmed and wild. He looked like he hadn't slept. Kate, he said, and his voice broke. Kate, please, we need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. Yes, there is. This is all a misunderstanding. The credit card, the purchases, I can explain everything. I didn't realize it was company money. You thought what, Marcus? That money just magically appeared in your account? I thought it was our joint account. He stopped, realizing how hollow it sounded. Patricia stepped forward. You manipulated him. You tricked him into using that card so you could accuse him of fraud. This is entrapment. It's not entrapment when someone willingly commits a crime, Mrs. Thorne. Don't you dare speak to me. You're nothing. A gold digger who wormed her way into my son's life and I saved your son's life, I said, my voice cutting through hers. His company was bankrupt. He was about to lose everything. I gave him $4.2 million to save it, and he repaid me by treating me like garbage. Marcus flinched. I didn't know. You never told me about the money. Would it have mattered? Would you have treated me better if you'd known I was rich? He opened his mouth, then closed it. We both knew the answer. You need to leave, I said. Both of you. This building, this company, it's not yours anymore. It's mine. The house, Patricia said suddenly. You can't take the house. Marcus bought that house before he married you. Actually, I put down the down payment, and I've been paying the mortgage from my account for 7 years. The house is in both our names, which means it's marital property. My lawyers will handle it. Marcus's face went gray. You're taking everything. I'm taking what's mine. There's a difference. Please. He reached for my arm, but security stepped between us. Kate, I'm begging you. Don't do this. I made mistakes, but I can change. We can start over. We can... No, I said. We can't. I walked past him, then past Patricia's hateful glare, past the security guards and the marble lobby, and out into the bright afternoon. Hands were shaking. My heart was racing. But I didn't look back. I called James and told him to pick me up. While I waited, I stood on the sidewalk and breathed in the cool autumn air. Behind me, I heard Marcus shouting. Patricia's shrill voice, security firmly escorting them out. The limousine pulled up. James opened the door. Where to, Mrs. Thorne? I thought about the hotel suite with its perfect silence. The house that didn't feel like mine. The city full of people who now knew my story. The lawyer's office, I said. I want to finalize the divorce as quickly as possible. Very good, ma'am. As we pulled away from Thorne Industries, I looked back one last time. Marcus was standing on the sidewalk, Patricia clutching his arm. He looked small, defeated, lost. For just a moment, I felt sorry for him. Then I remembered the gala, the laughter, the microphone. The maid doesn't eat. The pity evaporated. I pulled out my phone and called my lawyer. Margaret, it's Kate Thorne. I want to move forward with the divorce immediately. No negotiations, no settlement offers. He gets nothing. Are you sure? If he contests, it could drag out for months. Let him contest. I have evidence, I have documentation, and I have an army of lawyers. He has nothing. All right, I'll file the papers Monday morning. Thank you. I hung up and leaned back against the leather seat. Through the window, I watched the city pass by. The buildings, the people, the life I'd been invisible in for so long. Not anymore. I pulled up my contacts and scrolled to David's number. Kate, everything okay? I want to start a foundation for women going through divorces who don't have resources. Legal help, financial counseling, housing assistance, whatever they need. There was a pause. Then, I think that's a beautiful idea. Can you help me set it up? Absolutely. We can start first thing Monday. Good. I took a breath. And David? Thank you for believing me, for helping me, for seeing me when no one else did. Kate, you saved this company. Helping you was the easiest decision I ever made. We hung up. The car turned a corner and suddenly, the skyline opened up before me. The whole city, glittering in the afternoon sun. Somewhere in that city, Marcus was realizing he'd lost everything. And somewhere, I was realizing I'd finally found myself. 3 weeks later, I stood in the driveway of the house I'd once called home, watching a locksmith change the deadbolts on the front door. That should do it, Mom, he said, handing me 3 shiny new keys. No one's getting in without your permission. Thank you. He packed up his tools and drove away, leaving me alone with the house. The divorce had been finalized yesterday. Judge Morrison had been efficient and unsympathetic to Marcus's protests. The evidence was overwhelming. The fraud, the adultery, the financial manipulation. Marcus got nothing. No alimony, no property settlement, no claim. To the company, the house was mine. The company was mine. My life was mine. All that was left was clearing out the remnants of the past. I unlocked the door with my new key and stepped inside. The entry hall smelled stale, like the air had been trapped too long. I'd been living at the hotel for 3 weeks, avoiding this place. But it was time. I walked through the rooms slowly, seeing them with new eyes. The living room where Patricia had held court with her friends. The kitchen where Tiffany had sat at my table. The office where Marcus had plotted my humiliation. All empty now, all quiet. I climbed the stairs to the master bedroom. Marcus's belongings were still here. I'd had them packed by a service and moved to storage. He had 2 weeks to collect them before I donated everything to charity. I opened the closet. My clothes still hung there, but they looked strange now. The navy dress I'd worn to the first gala. The old sweaters I'd hidden in. The shoes I'd worn while pretending to be small. I pulled them out one by one and packed them into boxes. These would go to the foundation I was starting. Clothes for women rebuilding their lives. The doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. I went to the window and looked down. A taxi sat in the driveway, and Patricia stood at my door, surrounded by garbage bags. I felt a cold satisfaction settle in my chest. I went downstairs and opened the door. Patricia looked terrible. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes wrinkled. The pearls were gone. She looked like she'd aged 10 years in 3 weeks. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "I have nowhere else to go." Her voice was hoarse. "Marcus is living in a motel. I can't afford my apartment anymore. Everything is gone. That's not my problem. Please." The words seemed to cost her everything. "I just need a few days, just until I figure something out." I looked at her. This woman who'd called me the maid, who'd mocked me, who'd encouraged her son to destroy me. "No," I said. "You can't do this. I'm an old woman. I have nothing. You had everything. Your son had a successful company, a beautiful home, a wife who loved him, and you both threw it away. I didn't know you'd bought the company. If I'd known, you would have what? Treated me with respect? Valued me? Loved me?" I shook my head. "You would have used me, just like he did. Please." Tears ran down her face. "I made mistakes. But I'm begging you, don't leave me on the street." I thought about all the times she'd made me feel worthless. All the small cruelties. All the laughter at my expense. "There's a women's shelter on 5th Street, I said. "They can help you find housing assistance, food, job counseling." "A shelter?" Her face twisted. "You expect me to go to a homeless shelter? I expect you to figure it out, just like I would have had to if Marcus had succeeded in divorcing me with nothing. You're heartless." "I'm fair." She stared at me for a long moment. Then she picked up her garbage bags and stumbled back to the taxi. I watched her get in, watched the car drive away. Then I closed the door and locked it with my new key. I stood in the entry hall, breathing hard, waiting to feel guilty. But I didn't. I felt free. My phone buzzed. A text from David. "Board approved the new CEO, Rachel Martinez from Sterling Industries. She starts Monday. Thought you'd want to know." I smiled. Rachel was brilliant. I'd met with her twice during the interview process. She was exactly what Thorne Industries needed. Another text came in. This one from Margaret, my lawyer. "Marcus's attorney called. He's asking if you'd consider a settlement, $50,000 in exchange for dropping the criminal charges." I typed back, "No, the charges stand." "You're sure? This could mean jail time for him. He committed fraud. There are consequences." I sent the message and put my phone away. Then I spent the rest of the afternoon cleaning. I opened every window in the house, letting fresh air blow through. I threw away old newspapers and expired food. I stripped the bed and washed the sheets in hot water. I scrubbed away every trace of Patricia's perfume, Marcus's cologne, Tiffany's presence. By the time the sun set, the house felt different, lighter. Mine. I ordered takeout and ate sitting on the floor of the empty living room, watching the city lights come on through the window. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. but something made me pick up. Hello? Kate, it's me. Marcus. How did you get this number? I called the company. Told them it was an emergency. His voice sounded hollow. I need to talk to you. We have nothing to talk about. Please, just 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. I should have hung up. Should have blocked this number too. But I wanted to hear what he had to say. Fine, 5 minutes. I wanted to say I'm sorry for everything. I was arrogant and cruel, and I took you for granted. You deserved better. Yes, I did. I know you'll probably never forgive me, but I needed you to know that I see it now. What I lost. What I threw away. What you threw away was a person who loved you, who sacrificed for you, who saved you. I know. Do you? Do you really understand what you did? There was a long silence. I destroyed the best thing in my life, he said quietly. And I did it for nothing. For ego, for appearances, for a woman who left me the second the money was gone. Despite everything, I felt a flicker of curiosity. Tiffany left? The day after the gala. She blamed me for her being questioned by the police. Said I'd ruined her life. He laughed bitterly. She was using me the whole time, just like Mother was. Just like everyone was. Except you. I wasn't using you, Marcus. I was trying to love you. I know, and I'm so sorry I couldn't see that. I closed my eyes. This was what I'd wanted, wasn't it? An apology. Acknowledgement. Remorse. So why didn't it feel like enough? Is there anything I can do? Marcus asked. Anything at all to make this right? No, there isn't. Kate, your 5 minutes are up. I hung up. Then I blocked that number too. I sat in the quiet house and waited for tears that didn't come. Instead, I felt calm, resolved, complete. Marcus was sorry. Maybe he even meant it, but it didn't change anything. I pulled up my calendar and looked at the week ahead. Monday, foundation board meeting. Tuesday, lunch with David to discuss the company's expansion plans. Wednesday, interview with a journalist about women in business. Thursday, site visit to the shelter I was funding. Friday, nothing. A blank day. I typed in, rest. Then I stood up, turned off all the lights, and climbed the stairs to bed. The sheets were fresh. The room was quiet. The house was mine. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. 2 months later, I stood on a stage again, but this time it was different. The room was full of women, 75 of them, all beneficiaries of the foundation I'd started. Women going through divorces, fleeing abuse, rebuilding their lives from nothing. I'd rented a hotel ballroom and organized a luncheon. Free legal counseling, financial planning workshops, job placement services. Everything I wished I'd had, available to women who needed it more than I ever did. David stood at the back of the room, smiling. The new CEO, Rachel, sat at a front table taking notes. My lawyer, Margaret, was here too, volunteering her time to answer questions. I stepped up to the microphone. Thank you all for coming, I said. 6 months ago, I was where many of you are now. I felt powerless, invisible, trapped. I thought I had nothing. I looked out at the faces watching me. Some were crying, some were angry. All of them were listening. But I was wrong. I had something no one could take from me. My worth, my intelligence, my resilience. And once I remembered that, everything changed. I told them my story, the gala, the humiliation, the secret investment, the revelation. But I also told them the part that didn't make it into the news coverage, the doubt, the fear, the nights I couldn't sleep, the moments I almost gave up. Reclaiming your life isn't one dramatic moment, I said. It's 1,000 small choices to value yourself, to demand respect, to refuse to be invisible. When I finished, the room erupted in applause. Afterward, women lined up to talk to me, to thank me, to tell me their stories. One woman, maybe 65, gripped my hand with both of hers. My husband left me after 40 years, she said. Told me I was too old, too boring. I thought my life was over. But listening to you, I think maybe it's just beginning. I squeezed her hands. It is. I promise. As the event wound down, I stepped outside for air. The afternoon was crisp and bright, the kind of October day that feels like possibility. David found me on the terrace. "That was incredible, Hazia," he said. "You're changing lives, Kate." "I'm trying." "You're succeeding." He paused. "I have some news. The company stock has increased 40% since you took over. Investor confidence is at an all-time high. Rachel's doing amazing work, but everyone knows it's because of the foundation you laid." "The foundation I laid," I repeated, smiling at the double meaning. "Exactly." We stood together in comfortable silence, watching the city. "Have you heard from him?" David asked quietly. I knew who he meant. "No. Not since the night I hung up on him. His trial starts next month." "I know. Are you going?" I thought about it. Thought about sitting in a courtroom, watching Marcus face the consequences of his actions. "No," I said. "That chapter is closed." "Good." My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This is Tiffany. I know you have no reason to help me, but I'm in trouble. The police want to charge me as an accomplice. Please, I'm begging you." I showed David the message. He raised an eyebrow. "What are you going to do?" I thought about Tiffany in her stolen dress, her smug smile, her casual cruelty. Then I thought about the woman inside who'd been married for 40 years and left with nothing. I typed back, "Contact the foundation. We have lawyers who can help you navigate this. But you'll need to tell the truth about everything." I sent it and put my phone away. "You're more forgiving than I'd be," David said. "I'm not forgiving her. I'm giving her a chance to take responsibility. What she does with it is up to her. Still, it's generous. It's practical. Punishing her doesn't change what happened. Helping her might prevent it from happening to someone else." David smiled. "You know, when you first came to my office with your plan to save Thorne Industries, I thought you were naive. A woman trying to save her marriage by throwing money at her husband's problems. I was naive. No, you were strategic. You saw an opportunity and you took it. And when it didn't work out the way you hoped, you adapted. That's not naivety. That's brilliance. I don't feel brilliant. I feel tired and relieved and sad and hopeful all at once. That's called being human." We went back inside together. The luncheon was breaking up, women gathering their materials, exchanging phone numbers, making plans. I watched them leave in twos and threes, talking and laughing, supporting each other. This was